Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. You're watching A News. Let's see your headlines. U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran in talks with the U.S. as Tehran denies negotiations. The United Nations General Assembly adopts Ghana-backed resolution calling transatlantic slavery a crime against humanity and urging reparations. And a Turkish oil tanker has reportedly been targeted near Bosphorus, prompting an emergency response in the Black Sea. Thank you for joining us. Conflicting signals are emerging between Washington and Tehran as Donald Trump says Iran wants a deal but is afraid to admit it. Meanwhile, Tehran says the U.S. is negotiating with itself. With no clear signs of diplomacy, tensions continue to rise.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran is engaged in talks with Washington, but is unwilling to admit it publicly, citing fears of internal backlash.
When I tell you we're winning so big, nobody's ever seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran. And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
Tehran has rejected the claim. Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, said there has been no negotiation or dialogue with Washington.
No negotiations have taken place so far. I state firmly that there has been no negotiation or dialogue with the American side. However, in recent days, the American side has begun sending various messages through different intermediaries, messages being conveyed through our friendly countries, and us responding by stating our positions or issuing the necessary warnings is not called negotiation or dialogue. It is simply an exchange of messages through our friends.
Araghchi says proposals reportedly described as a 15-point plan are being reviewed by Iran's leadership, but stressed there is no intention to negotiate at this stage. Sources say the plan includes limits on Iran's nuclear and missile programs. Meanwhile, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt warned Washington is ready to escalate military action if needed, saying President Trump does not bluff. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf warned of possible foreign attempts to seize Iranian territory, saying Tehran would respond with sustained attacks on critical infrastructure. The conflict is now in its fourth week as new strikes are being reported. In central Israel, several impacts have caused injuries following Iran's latest missile barrage. Israeli media say at least 3 people were wounded as emergency teams were deployed. US Central Command says it has struck more than 10,000 military targets in Iran, claiming air superiority and major damage to naval and military infrastructure. At the same time, new missile launches toward Jerusalem and surrounding areas have been reported, with explosions heard across multiple regions.
For more on this, our correspondent Obi Shabanda joins us from Washington with the latest developments and what they could mean for the region.
It may be the last chance to bring the ongoing conflict with Iran to an end. The Trump administration has delivered a 15-point peace plan to Tehran via Pakistani intermediaries. During a press briefing on Wednesday, White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that President Trump was giving the remaining elements of the Iranian government an opportunity to cooperate with Washington. Leavitt said that President Trump wants a peace deal, but if Iran fails to understand, in her words, that they have been militarily defeated, then President Trump will ensure that Iran is hit harder than they have ever been hit before. The U.S. and Israel have temporarily removed 2 senior Iranian officials from their list of officials to eliminate as the U.S. and Israel explore possible peace talks, according to U.S. officials. Iranian Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi have been removed from the target list for up to 5 days as President Trump opens the door to high-level negotiations that could potentially end the war. The White House believes that Iran's defense industrial base has been effectively dismantled, according to the latest briefings. On Wednesday, Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of the U.S. Central Command, said that U.S. forces are ahead of schedule in achieving their military objectives for eliminating Iran's ability to project power in a meaningful way in the region. U.S. forces have struck more than 10,000 military targets in Iran. Together with Israel, thousands of more targets have been struck, according to U.S. military officials. Iran's ability to launch drones and missile strikes has been reduced by nearly 90%, as well as 2/3 of Iran's missile and drone and naval production facilities have been either damaged or destroyed, according to the U.S. military. I'm Ube Shibander, A News, Washington.
Israeli strikes are expanding across southern Lebanon, with multiple towns hit and emergency teams responding to widespread damage. At least 20 people have been killed and dozens wounded since Wednesday, according to Lebanese authorities, with civil defense crews tackling fires in affected areas. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says forces aim to secure areas up to the Litani River. Hezbollah says it will fight any move to expand Israeli presence in the south, calling it an existential threat. U.S. President Donald Trump will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in May during his first visit to China in 8 years. The trip, delayed by the war in Iran, is now set for May 14th to 15th in Beijing. Trump says he plans to host Xi in Washington later this year. The visit comes at a time of ongoing tensions between the world's two largest economies. Trade is expected to be high on the agenda, along with key issues such as Taiwan. It's still unclear whether the conflict with Iran will be resolved before the meeting. Denmark's election has delivered a fragmented result, with Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen still leading the largest party, but now facing difficult coalition talks after no bloc secured a majority. Our correspondent Anisha Sharma has more.
Welcome to This Day in Europe, where Denmark's election delivers a fragmented result and sets the stage for difficult coalition talks with major geopolitical implications. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen remains leader of the largest party, but her Social Democrats suffered their worst result in more than a century, winning just 38 seats and about 22% of the vote. Neither the left-wing Red Bloc nor the right-wing opposition secured a majority in the 179-seat parliament, leaving Denmark politically deadlocked. That puts former Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen and his centrist moderates in a kingmaker role, with just 14 seats but potentially decisive influence over who forms the next government. Rasmussen said, "We're in the middle. Come down and play with us. We are ready." While Frederiksen gets the first chance to try to build a coalition, negotiations are expected to be long and complex, with parties ruling out key alliances and pushing competing visions for Denmark's future. But what's at stake goes beyond domestic politics. The election reflects voter frustration over inflation, tax reforms, and welfare, and marks a sharp reversal for Frederiksen, who called the snap election hoping to capitalize on strong support after her handling of U.S. President Trump, only to see voters shift focus back to domestic issues. There is also growing geopolitical pressure, particularly around Greenland, whose pro-independence Nallerock party won a seat in the Danish parliament for the very first time. That signals rising tensions within the Danish kingdom and growing calls for a looser relationship with Copenhagen. With global powers increasingly focused on the Arctic and Greenland's strategic importance rising, even one single seat could carry outsized influence in a tightly balanced parliament. The outcome now matters far beyond who becomes prime minister. It will determine Denmark's economic direction, the stability of its political system, and potentially the future shape of the kingdom itself, as questions over Greenland's path toward independence move closer to the center of power. For A News, I'm Anita Sharma in Arnhem, Netherlands.
Russian strikes have hit Ukraine's Kharkiv region and a key Danube port, leaving 2 people dead and damaging critical infrastructure. A woman wounded in a strike in Kharkiv has died in hospital as attacks hit 2 districts of the city, injuring 9 people. Prosecutors say a drone also struck a man in his car near the border in southwestern Ukraine. Strikes on Danube port of Ismail damaged port facilities and energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, Russian officials say Ukrainian drone attacks killed 2 civilians in Belgorod region, while air defenses intercepted 17 drones heading towards Moscow. G7 foreign ministers are meeting in France with wars in Ukraine, Iran, and concerns over U.S. foreign policy dominating the agenda. The 2-day talks near Paris brings together foreign ministers from Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United States, along with the European Union. Talks are focused on the Middle East conflict, including the Strait of Hormuz and stalled efforts to end Russia's war in Ukraine, with European officials warning against any deal that could disadvantage Kyiv. The U.S. has made security guarantees for Ukraine peace deal conditional on ceding Donbass to Russia, with Zelensky warning that such a move would endanger the security of both Ukraine and Europe.
Americans are ready to finalize these security guarantees at a high level once Ukraine is ready to withdraw from Donbass. In my view, the Russian side is shaping the atmosphere in its dialogue with the Americans around this very idea that Ukraine should withdraw from Donbass. The United States will then provide the security guarantees Ukraine is seeking, and Russians will certainly end this war. More or less, this is the triangle we find ourselves in. You understand that withdrawing from Donbass is wrong, immoral, and so on. But withdrawing from Donbass today also means weakening Ukraine's defensive lines. That's it. Russia always keeps one step in reserve. Take nuclear weapons, for example, something they constantly talk about, threatening the entire world. Whenever there is a deadlock, at some point they send a message, what if? So tell me, why wouldn't they start the war again on new terms and tell the whole world, look, we can use the weapons we mentioned, we have no protection against that.
The United Nations has taken a historic step by recognizing transatlantic slavery as, quote, the gravest crime against humanity, with Ghana leading the push for accountability and reparations. This comes despite opposition from the US and Europe.
The United Nations General Assembly has adopted a resolution proposed by Ghana. The resolution recognizes transatlantic slavery as the gravest crime against humanity and calls for reparations. Despite opposition from the US and European countries, the resolution was approved. In the vote, 123 countries supported the resolution. 3, including the US and Israel, voted against it, and 52 abstained. The resolution is not legally binding but carries significant political weight. Ghana has said that the effects of slavery, which saw at least 12.5 million Africans forcibly taken between the 15th and 19th centuries, are still felt today, contributing to racial inequalities. Foreign Minister Samuel Ablakwa stated that the resolution aims to ensure accountability for historical injustices. The resolution marks a new step in Africa's efforts to hold former colonial powers accountable. It follows last year's initiative by the African Union to create a unified position on reparations among its 55 member states. It calls on member states to engage in dialogue on reparations, including issuing formal apologies, returning stolen artifacts, providing financial compensation, and preventing repetition of such injustices. The resolution has faced criticism from the US and the European Union, who warned it could create a hierarchy of crimes against humanity. US Representative Dan Negrea described it as an attempt to use historical wrongs to redistribute modern resources. African and Caribbean nations are seeking to establish a special UN reparations tribunal, and Ghana believes the resolution could pave the way for such a framework.
A jury has found Google and Meta liable in a $3 million social media addiction case that could affect thousands of similar lawsuits. The ruling was passed by a Los Angeles court on Wednesday as parents of affected children waited outside the courthouse and cheered when they heard the verdict. Lennon Torres of Heat Initiative said the ruling is, quote, the start of big tech being held accountable. The case involved a 20-year-old woman who became addicted to YouTube and Instagram at a young age. The jury decided both companies were negligent in designing the apps and failed to warn users about the risks. The U.S. military on Wednesday released footage of a strike on a vessel in the Caribbean. At least 4 people were killed during the operation, which the military says targeted a boat involved in narcotics trafficking. U.S. Southern Command said intelligence confirmed the vessel was moving along known drug trafficking routes, and the strike is part of ongoing operations to disrupt drug smuggling networks in the Caribbean. Officials report that heightened operations since September have claimed at least 163 lives. We'll be back after a short break. Stay with us.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
On World Business, we meet the boardroom leaders making market-moving decisions. And find out how leaders are dealing with continuous technological disruption.
As America sleeps, Europe is waking, and the East has begun its day. A News is right here at the center, bringing you the latest stories as they break. I'm Nadia Jani, here with you each weekday morning to share latest world news and the stories shaping our region. Across all platforms and wherever you get your news, we explore the context behind the big headlines. Live from Baku, I bring you a diverse mix of regional and international news, sport and politics for you, an audience that wants a bit more. So join me Monday to Friday for the latest headlines, expert analysis and live updates from around the world. Around the globe and live from Baku, this is Daybreak here on A News.
welcome to Primetime. What a show we've got lined up for you. In a complex world, clarity is power. Two hours live, diplomacy dissected in a spin-free environment. That's Prime Time with me, Guy Schoen, weekdays on A News.
Welcome back to A News. Hungary is under scrutiny in Brussels over reports that sensitive EU discussions may have been shared with Moscow, claims Budapest denies as false. The controversy comes just weeks ahead of the national elections. To discuss this and Hungary's move to restrict gas supplies to Ukraine, which is exposing deeper divisions within Europe's energy and political landscape, we're joined by Jan Kasper, a researcher at Matthias Cornelius Collegium in Budapest. Thank you for joining us, Jan. Now, Hungary has moved to restrict gas flows to Ukraine amid a dispute over Russian oil transit. How serious is this development in practical terms for Ukraine's energy security right now?
Thanks for having me. It will have a great impact on Ukraine. Ukrainians are importing 20% of their gas from Hungary, and we always need to underline the fact that this is Russian gas. Hungary is buying it from Russia, and then instead of using it, because Hungary is an energy hub in that extent, is re-exporting it to Ukraine, for example. So it's quite a contradiction. I mean, the Ukrainian elite, they want us, they want the European Union to stop importing Russian energy, but at the same time, now they are very upset because the Hungarian government decided to stop gas delivery to Ukraine. Of course, that's a countermeasure in the context of that the Ukrainians stopped to deliver Hungary Russian oil to the Druzhba pipeline since the end of January. So, of course, this pipeline was damaged because of the war, but, you know, that's not the first time. Most of the time, it took like 2 or 3 days to start again the delivery, and now it's more than 1 month. So it's definitely a political decision from Kyiv, and now the Hungarian government decided not just to block and to veto the money that Brussels wants to send to Ukraine, but also it was announced yesterday by Prime Minister Viktor Orban to stop gas delivery to Ukraine. So we'll see the developments, but that's definitely a very tense situation in the current electoral campaign.
Now, given that Ukraine is fighting a full-scale war while also trying to maintain its energy system, how could reduced gas imports from Hungary affect both civilian resilience and military logistics?
Yeah, the position of the Hungarian government is very clear on this. I mean, of course, Ukraine was attacked by Russia, but the Hungarian government always said that it's not the war of the Hungarian people. And the Hungarian people, the huge majority of the Hungarian people, they want to stay outside this war, which is not the case in Brussels. Sometimes we have the feeling in Brussels that they want to drag the Hungarian people in this war, accept all the measures against Russia. The Hungarian government has a very pragmatic approach of this, and of course, a Hungarian life has more value than a Ukrainian life. That's the way it works. It might be cynical, but that's the way governments are defending the interest of their country. Now, when it comes to the Ukrainian position, again, there's quite a contradiction, because they can earn a lot of money with transit fees, like billions a year, and they refuse to do it by stopping the transit of the Russian oil. The other thing is that Ukraine cannot fight against Russia without Russian energy. So it's quite an interesting situation.
Now, speaking about that, do you see Hungary's decision primarily as an energy security measure or as a form of political leverage against Ukraine and the European Union?
You know, Hungary is a landlocked country. When it comes to gas, it's receiving gas mostly from two directions, from the east and from the south. Now, the Ukrainian a few days ago also tried to attack the Turkish stream, which is going through Serbia. So if they cut the gas supply from the east and from the south, it would be a very bad situation for Hungary. So instead of sending this gas to the Ukrainians, Hungary decided to fill out its own reservoir and maybe send this gas to other partners that we can rely on. So of course that's a political game. I mean, the decision of Zelensky not to send oil since more than 1 month. Again, the Druzhba pipeline was attacked 22 times since the beginning of the war. Now it's the 23rd occasion. And most of the time, it took like only a few days, like small technical issues, and they can reset, the delivery. And now they decided, and they even admitted that this is a political decision. And Zelensky said that he is not going to send Hungary oil until the election, because of course he is hoping that there will be a government change in Hungary. Something to what Viktor Orban answered, that it will restart when it will be a regime change in Kiev.
Now, finally, from Moscow's perspective, do you think this division within Europe advances Russia's war and energy agendas?
Vladimir Putin 2 weeks ago announced that if Europe wants to stop buying Russian gas, then he will stop sending it. Actually, that wasn't meant to Hungarians or Slovakians, but rather to France and Belgium, two countries that are always very loud when it comes to Russia, but they are buying plenty of Russian LNG and then send it back on the European market, mainly on the German market. So Vladimir Putin said, because of the situation in the Middle East, that he can send this gas at a higher price to the Asian market. So we'll stop sending to the European market its LNG. So Russia is being pragmatic, is doing business. And I have the feeling that we Europeans are always doing ideology, and we are not accepting the fact that we need to be very pragmatic when it comes to energy security. And actually, a few days ago, the European Commission said that maybe they will postpone their goal to stop importing Russian energy. It was meant to be April 15, and now they say that maybe we need to wait a little bit because, of course, the reality became very tough because of the situation in the Middle East. So Russia is clearly a big winner of this situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yan, for sharing your time and insights with us.
Thank you very much.
After the break, we'll take a closer look at key stories shaping the region. Stay with us. Welcome back to A News. A Turkish-owned oil tanker has come under attack in the Black Sea, just off the entrance of the Bosphorus Strait. Officials say the vessel was targeted by both aerial and surface drones, prompting an emergency response. Our Istanbul correspondent Adam Morrow has more.
A crude oil tanker owned by an Istanbul-based Turkish firm was attacked early Thursday roughly 22 kilometers off the Bosphorus Strait, Turkey's transport ministry has confirmed. According to a ministry statement, the incident was likely related to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The tanker, named the Altura, which reportedly belongs to the Pergamon Shipping Company, had departed from Russia before the incident. Officials say the vessel left the Russian Black Sea port of Novorossiysk and was reportedly carrying around 140,000 tons of crude oil. The attack is believed to have occurred at approximately 12:30 a.m. local time. According to reports, the ship was targeted by both an aerial drone and an unmanned surface vessel. Damage was reported on the ship's upper section and in its engine room, prompting the Altura to issue a distress call. A nearby vessel, identified as the Erdek, later approached the targeted ship to assist. No deaths or injuries have been reported among the Altura's crew. Turkish rescue vessels have since been dispatched to the area to provide assistance and assess the damage. It still remains unclear who carried out the attack. But last October, the Altura was added to the European Union's official list of sanctioned vessels. Since then, Switzerland, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom have also added the ship to their respective sanctions lists. Notably, the targeted vessel was earlier classified by maritime tracking services as part of Russia's so-called shadow fleet. Moscow, for its part, has yet to issue a statement regarding the incident. This is Adam Mara for A News in Istanbul, Turkey.
Russia has dispatched more than 300 tons of humanitarian aid to Iran, with Azerbaijan serving as a key transit route. The shipment consists of mainly medical supplies. The delivery comes after Tehran requested assistance following damage to hospitals and medical infrastructure.
Russia has dispatched over 300 tons of humanitarian aid to Iran, with the shipment transiting through Azerbaijan. The shipment, primarily consisting of medical supplies, arrived by cargo train from the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations at Garadagh station of Azerbaijani Railways. It will subsequently be transported by Iranian trucks to the relevant authorities in Iran for distribution. According to Russia's Foreign Ministry, Tehran earlier requested medical assistance after hospitals and ambulance stations were damaged in recent strikes, leaving many civilians injured. This shipment follows an earlier delivery on 12th of March, when Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations sent more than 13 tons of medicine and medical supplies to Iran via Azerbaijan. The operation underscores Azerbaijan's role as a key transit route, facilitating the efficient transfer of humanitarian aid.
Kazakhstan says it is ready to deepen energy cooperation with the United States by expanding export routes across the Caspian Sea and boosting investment. Kazakhstan's energy minister made the remarks during talks with U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright on the sidelines of CERA Week in Houston. The two spoke on energy security, alternative corridors, and the Caspian region's role in global supply chains. U.S. investment in Kazakhstan's energy sector has now exceeded $60 billion, with major projects involving ExxonMobil and Chevron. Pakistan and China have launched a joint naval exercise in Karachi, with Chinese warship arriving at ports for the drills. The exercise, known as Sea Guardian, is aimed at boosting coordination and interoperability between the two navies as part of the wider strategic partnership. It includes both harbor and sea face activities, ranging from expert exchanges and a young officers seminar to gunnery drills, coordinated patrols, and maritime security operation. The drills will continue until April the 2nd. Now to Afghanistan, where regional cooperation on water management was highlighted at a major minister forum in Central Asia. Officials emphasized fair water distribution and joint action on climate challenges. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more.
Afghanistan's Ministry of Water and Energy says Deputy Minister for Water Mujibur Rahman Umar Akhundzada addressed the main ministerial level Water Week Forum in Tashkent, Uzbekistan on behalf of Afghanistan. In his meeting, he stressed the importance of fair water distribution between Afghanistan and Central Asian countries, strengthening water diplomacy and adopting modern technologies for improved water management. He also underlined the need for joint regional cooperation to address the impacts of climate change, particularly on shared water resources. The Deputy Minister spoke about preventing the degradation of the banks of the Amu River, noting that Afghanistan remains committed to respecting the water rights of neighboring countries. On the sideline of the forum, Akhundzada met with Uzbekistan's Minister of Water, Shavkat Kamrayev, where the two sides discussed expanding bilateral cooperation in the water sector. Officials say Afghanistan's participation in the forum is considered an important step toward strengthening the country's active role in regional and international discussions, while opening a new chapter for cooperation on water management and shared environmental challenges. Tamim Bahiz in Kabul, A News.
After the break, we'll discuss the US-Iran conflict, with Pakistan emerging as a potential host for high-level talks. Stay tuned.
On World Business, we meet the boardroom leaders making market-moving decisions. And find out how leaders are dealing with continuous technological disruption.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
And welcome to Primetime. What a show we've got lined up for you. In a complex world, clarity is power. Two hours live, diplomacy dissected in a spin-free environment. That's Prime Time with me, Guy Schoen, weekdays on A News. Welcome to A News, unfiltered news and analysis from the region and beyond. From Washington to Beijing, Tehran to Kabul, to Tbilisi to Tashkent. Hello, I'm Jay. That's challenges.
Today is the third.
We're with you 24/7, taking you live to the front lines of the day's biggest stories. Welcome to Gabala. One important note to fix. I'm here.
Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Hello, we are reporting on the 8th of November. Reporting from Paris,
Dar es Salaam, Tel Aviv,
Washington,
London,
Moscow,
Kyiv, Berlin,
Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Bangkok, Tbilisi, Tashkent, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Port Sudan, Tehran, Islamabad, Istanbul,
Kabul for A News.
Welcome back to A News. Rising tensions between Washington and Tehran are fueling concerns of further escalation despite signs of behind-the-scenes diplomacy. Reports suggest potential talks may be held in Islamabad in the coming days, We're joined by Atif Chaudhry in London for more. Thank you for joining us, Atif. Now, let's start with the big picture. How significant is this proposed meeting in Pakistan in the context of efforts to de-escalate the US-Iran conflict?
Are you asking me?
Can you hear me? Did you hear the question?
Yeah. Can you repeat again?
All right. I said, now this proposed meeting in Islamabad, how significant is it in the context of efforts to de-escalate the US-Iran conflict?
This is very, I think it's much needed. It's quite delayed. It's late input in there, but it's very significant, as you said, because war is not a solution for anything. I'm glad Pakistan is able to assist in this one, but because Pakistan is allied with, unfortunately, America as well, and Iran is in our neighbor, but we don't want any war in our neighbor or any other region. But because Israel doing bad, we have the bad guy in the world, which is Israel. So and America got trapped in that. I'm happy Pakistan stepped in, and we are trying to play our role as a good neighbor. So I think we should go somewhere because this war is going nowhere.
Now, in your opinion, what makes Islamabad a viable or perhaps risky venue for talks of this scale?
It's not risky, but it's viable because one thing, we are neighbor, and we hope because Iran need some securities, because what Israel and America have been doing, they attacked in past, and now they attacked again, and they can attack in future as well, which Iran don't want. Iran wants some sort of proper security. So Iran will be happy to involve Pakistan and some other countries as well to be part of this deal, and when they come out. So I think Pakistan is the best venue at the moment to hold the talk, because main thing, both sides should have first on a country on a venue where they can have talks. Otherwise, if they go somewhere else, because most of the region is in war, and the other one, like India and Afghanistan, I don't think Iran will be agree on any of the other one. So the only option we have left is Islamabad.
Now, you spoke about Pakistan being a good neighbor. We're also hearing that Turkey is being considered as an alternative location. What does this tell us about the sensitivities and security concerns around the talks?
Turkey is another option we have, because this is another Islamic country in nearby, and it's a strong economy as well. But for the security wise, Islamabad and Turkey both are safe place to hold talks. So I think first round they can have in Islamabad, and after that, if there's any, at the moment there's no security concern to hold any talks in Islamabad. So it's just to decide. Main thing where Iran is more Iran feels secure where he can go. Either he feels secure in Islamabad or they feel secure in Turkey. They can go there because they are the victim here. They go so much loss. They lost so many lives. Their infrastructure. It's unnecessary war being imposed on them. So Iran should get a pick.
Now, moving forward, senior figures, including Vice President J.D. Vance and other top officials, are expected to be involved. How important is the level of representation in determining whether these talks can succeed?
It's more of, for this is my personal opinion. I have doubts on Israel intentions. Israel normally, whatever they say, they don't do. When they go, we have a bad experience in Gaza as well. They attack, but they said, oh, we are going for ceasefire, and suddenly they start bombing again. So at the moment, again, I said the bad guy is Israel. So it's very much depend what's the intention of that bad guy. If will he listen to the talk, will he agree on it? There's main three parties in that: Iran, America, and Israel. So obviously, America and Iran, they don't want war anymore, but they want to come on a conclusion. But Israel, they love wars. They just want to continue bombing here and there. They're killing innocent people. So this is a fanatic mindset they have. So I have my personal doubt on their side. How will they abide the terms or not? But they have to compensate Iran because they made so much loss to them, and the sanctions should be lifted, and they should give a good deal to Iran.
Now, according to state media, an Iranian military spokesman said on Wednesday that the United States is negotiating with itself. From your perspective, what incentives are there for Iran to engage in peace talks at this moment, given the current military and political pressures?
I think Iran had given their intention, how they wanted to. First thing, they want to stop bombing. First, they have to show a goodwill gesture to completely stop bombing. Then they want their compensation, what all the loss they have made, and they want all the tension to be lifted from them. And they want a surety it will not happen again in future, because it happened in past, and from last 30 odd years, they always have a threat. They have a sword hanging on their head, or we will attack Iran, we will do this. So they want to come out of it. They want stability in their country. So I think once Iran gets some sort of security and their future prospect, only then, because they have already bombed. The Tehran is almost destroyed. So they have taken a lot of loss. They have taken a lot of they've given a lot of martyrs. I think, over, I don't have an exact figure, but I think 2,000 people have died already. So they've sacrificed a lot. So Iran will go in the talks, but on his terms.
Now, there's been a long history of mistrust between Washington and Tehran. What mechanisms, if any, could make these talks credible to both sides?
I think the very good question. This is the $100 million question, that it's a big mistrust, and but Iran been suffering a lot since last whole decade. So they really want peace. They want their stability in their country. And the guy they assassinated, Hamnai, he was a big believer of peace and talk and having a deal. So, but they assassinate him, unfortunately. But I think the biggest thing would be who would be the guarantor. I don't think there'll be a simple talk, a simple dialogue can resolve this. Not a US side, because US don't need any guarantor, but Iran need a guarantor who can actually sit for both sides, and they can guarantee it will not happen again. So mistrust can only be resolved if we have a good third party, like probably couple of good countries who can come forward and guarantee that whatever we'll discuss, it will not happen again. But biggest thing, America or Israel will not attack in future.
Now, finally, let's say these talks fail or collapse even before they begin. What are the immediate risks in terms of escalation from your point of view?
See, they underestimated Iran. They thought Iran is like Venezuela or Gaza. Excuse me. or Palestine. But Iran have a huge, they have showed their capability, they have showed their results. They are making new missiles every day. So they can retaliate and they can go for a longer war. And now the more longer war we have, Iran is getting more in control because all the intercepting and all their iron, so-called Iron Dome has already been destroyed, or it's not working anymore, and it's costing too much. And if the as you said, the first thing will come, it'll be an instability all over the world. The petrol, the oil is the biggest thing, and the inflation will come. Stock market will crash because the door of Hermes is not going to open then. So it's a long term. It will be a. It's not only Iran. Iran has suffered. So now Iran have nothing to lose. Is the other America, Israel, and rest of the world will be losing more. So nobody afford this one, especially America. If they, because they make their weapons, their their planes, and they're crashing everything. So I think for the long term, if the oil goes up, I was hearing that, but I don't know if it's true or not. If some economist was saying if the war lasts another month, then oil will go to 150. Then another month it'll go 200. So just imagine if oil go to 200, what would happen all over the world, where the inflation will go, where the stock market will go, companies will go bust. So nobody afford that. But in this one, for longer run, the beneficial will be Iran. So America and Israel, they should take a break, and they should make a deal with them, make a peace with them. War is not solution for anything. No, another thing, they always, Iran have already opened in past their nuclear preparation and everything. They said we're not going for nuclear. They're not doing any more uranium. So the international organization have already checked that, but it was unnecessary war. And the war happened in middle of talks. So it was really, really unfair. So America should back out and tell Israel to stop the war and let the world live in peace.
Mr. Chaudhry, thank you very much for sharing your time and insights with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.